Today's the fourth day of Advent, and our story is Noah, which is a story we've all probably heard before, and it's one that we certainly hear plenty in the church, especially when we're children. Have you ever been in a church nursery that didn't have some kind of Noah's Ark in it? Or a children's Bible that didn't have this story included? It's one that we love because it's got lots of beautiful pictures and lots of cool animals, but it's actually kind of a tricky story when you think about it, because it's basically a story about God killing everybody. Right? That's the point of the story, is that God uses a flood to kill all of humanity except for Noah and his family, which that's not how God works. That's not the God that we know at all. So what's the point of this story? What is it saying about God? Are we wrong about God? Is this how God used to be and now God's not that way anymore? What is the point? And I think the first thing in answering that question is to name that this is a myth. Some people need to take everything in the Bible as literally as possible, and I think it doesn't make any sense because the Bible contains all sorts of genres of literature, and this very clearly is a myth. And if you don't believe me, look at how it starts. It starts with saying, in those days the Nephilim were walking the earth. The giants were walking the earth. Think of any story you know that has giants in it. They're myths, right? They're fiction. Giants don't ever show up in our history books. So when we're going to talk about giants and everything else being mythological, then here we have to make the same claim that this is a myth story. So it's trying to teach us something. It's trying to say something. We don't have to take every single piece literally. So what is it trying to say? I think personally that there's a lot of archaeological evidence to show that sometime around then, there was a great flood. All sorts of different civilizations have flood stories. And so, why was there a flood? Well, because God must have done it. That's kind of how our brains work, and especially in ancient religious civilizations, if something happens, it's because God did it. But what's interesting about this story is that, yes, God did this flood. God is the explanation for why this happened. But there's also hope, which doesn't show up in all the stories. In this story, it ends with God saying, I won't ever do this. I make a covenant that this is not the kind of God that I am. I'm not the God who's going to wipe out the whole world. And the rainbow is our promised reminder of that. And so, yes, there's problematic pieces in the story. And honestly, I continue to wrestle with how do we make sense of this story. But I cling to knowing that at the end of the day, God promises that this is not the God that we have. We do not have a God of destruction. We have a God who rescues and saves. A God who, even at the beginning, has a plan for how our rescue will come about. A God who promises to be with us. Remember that you are loved, and God's peace be with you.